what is important, it feels, is, and I know this as a player, I talk with my brother about this all the time. You got to be authentically you as a
Yeah.
coach. Players sniff that out instantly if you are trying to be somebody else. And I think that's also that it goes for leadership outside of the sporting world as well. As yes, you want to learn from the greats like you've been
Right.
around, but you got to figure out your own voice and your own style and your own personality. And if you're trying to be somebody else, I rarely, if ever, have seen that work.
You're absolutely correct. You cannot be who you are not. You can't be somebody else, and you cannot fool a locker room. You cannot fool players and or other coaches. It's too authentic. People, people sniff a rat in a heartbeat. So, the locker room guys and again, your staff even, they know when you're, putting something on. And I've never tried to. You have to be who you are, be authentic. And then there are certain principles of what you've got to do to make it right. But anyway, yes, you're totally correct that you cannot, you can't be who you're not.
One of the things you mentioned,
it never works.
Never. Yeah. No. One of the things you mentioned about what made your dad so good, as a fellow Ohioan here, so I have a kinship with Ohio high school football, is awesome, Coach, is the fact that you said he related to his players so well, like he got to know them, he truly cared about them. And when I asked our fellow friend and your fellow Hall of Famer Sherry Cole, I said, Sherry, what is something about Coach Stoops that that I can't find on the internet? Because she knows I'm going to do my research. And she said, this is quote, one of my favorite things about him is he's the busiest man on the planet, but never appeared that way. That's a skill and an art that fascinates me. The fact that you have a million different things going on, but she told me when you're in the room with him or when you're talking with him, he makes you feel like you're the most important thing in the world to him. And maybe this just comes natural to you, or maybe you got it from your dad. I'm curious, but when you hear that as a compliment given to you, what do you think of that?
Well, that's awful kind of Sherry. She's an awesome person, coach. Always enjoyed my time whenever I get to see her. Well, I appreciate that. When you are football with the number of people we deal with, 120 players, 20 coaches, trainers, on and on and on, there is a lot coming at you. And I'd like to say I surrounded myself with really quality people. So I had help that way. And then I always knew, I guess, maybe relating to Sherry, and I always had time to visit with softball recruits, gymnastic recruits, basketball recruits, whatever it was. I would make time on Fridays ahead of games. They would all come in for games that I had that time, because I always felt in college ball, my job was to be a part of the university also, not just to win games, not just to be a football coach and worry about just my stuff. I felt an obligation that I was part of this university and I was part of this big coaching tree. And if I could help and assist anybody, I was going to do that. And it was really natural. And again, I think, like you said, my father was that way. Relating to people is a big deal. And fitting, and to me, that was it. I felt my players would do anything for me because I genuinely cared about every one of them. And when you do, and they know that, because you can't fake it, like we talked, they're going to do about anything you ask them to do, and do it happily. And so anyhow, but I appreciate Sherry saying that, because again, it was my job to be a big part of this university and to help any of them that I could, or be a part of it. And I was lucky. We had a bunch of great coaches like Sherry and Patty Gasso, our softball coach, and I could go on and on. Our gymnastic coaches are incredible. And anyhow, so it was fun to be a part of that.
You make it sound like it's normal to do that. I don't know. I've never been a college football head coach, but Is that a normal thing for the football head coach to be making, especially in season when every second is important to be preparing to win the game? Because, if you don't win, they'll run you out of town quickly. So you got to win. That's just the way college sports, especially football, is. And at a place like Oklahoma, where their fans are very passionate. But to make time for other sports to be an ambassador for Oklahoma seems, really cool of you to do, but how normal is that in college athletics?
I don't know what other people do. I can't say, but I found it, if I'm not ready by noon on Friday, the day before the game, I haven't done my job.
Yeah.
So point being, it was they, most of the recruits of these other sports came in for the game, and they would come in on Friday for their official visits and then be a part of, they'd be on the sideline ahead warming up to, the spectacle of OU football. They'd be there for the games on Saturday. So I found it fairly easy by noon, somewhere around noon Friday, or might have been in the early afternoon, to carve out an hour and a half to, hey, let's meet, take pictures with these people, show them around a little bit. And I didn't feel it was that hard. I mean, again, if you're not prepared by that point, you haven't done your job.